In a dramatic tale of compassion and resilience, a solitary hunter's act of kindness toward a dying, pregnant wolf led to an extraordinary reunion 1 year later. The hunter, Jack, experienced an emotional moment when he encountered a sight that brought tears to his eyes: a sickly, pregnant wolf named Luna, abandoned and vulnerable in the frigid Alaskan snow. Jack's heart ached at the sight. He knew that wolves, though resilient, could be brought low by the extreme conditions, especially if separated from their pack. He approached cautiously, his breath forming white puffs in the frigid air. The wolf's amber eyes, filled with a mixture of fear and resignation, followed his movements. Without hesitation, Jack reached into his backpack and pulled out the dried meat he had packed for lunch. He knew it wasn't much, but it was a start. Gently, he tossed the meat towards the wolf. She sniffed the air tentatively before inching forward to investigate the offering. As she began to eat, Jack murmured softly, "There you go, girl. You need that more than I do." Jack observed the wolf intently. Her condition was dire. She was skeletal, and her fur, once a vibrant mix of grays and whites, was now caked in grime. Her ribs were visible beneath her thin coat, and her eyes, though still bright, held a look of desperation. Jack wondered what had happened to her pack. Wolves were social animals, relying on their packs for hunting and survival. To see this wolf alone was troubling. Determined to help, Jack made a quick decision. He named her Luna, inspired by the pale, moon-like shimmer of her fur despite the grime. He knew that Luna's situation was critical. Her pups were due soon, and the harsh winter was far from over. Jack's thoughts raced. He had to act quickly if he was to make a difference. Without wasting any time, Jack returned to his cabin, a modest wooden structure nestled in the forest, and gathered supplies. He loaded up his sled with an axe, a coil of rope, and as many blankets as he could carry. The trek back to Luna's location was arduous, the snow now thick and heavy, making the journey slow and laborious. But Jack's resolve was unwavering. Back at the clearing, he began building a shelter. Jack knew that the structure needed to be sturdy enough to withstand the relentless Alaskan winter. He chopped down small trees and gathered branches, constructing a framework that he then covered with a thick layer of evergreen boughs. Inside, he fashioned a soft bed of moss and leaves, layering it with the blankets to provide a warm, insulated space. As the sun set and the temperature plummeted, Jack knew it was time to move Luna. He approached her slowly, speaking in soothing tones to avoid startling her. "Hey there, Luna. I've got a better place for you to rest." Luna's eyes followed him, wary but resigned. With great care, Jack wrapped her in a warm blanket. Despite her weakened state, she offered no resistance as he lifted her gently into his arms. Her weight was substantial, and Jack could feel her ribs pressing against him as he carried her to the new shelter. The short distance to the shelter felt like an eternity, but Jack's determination never wavered. He whispered words of encouragement with each step. "Almost there, girl. You're doing great." As he entered the shelter, he carefully laid Luna down on the soft bedding. She seemed to relax almost immediately, sinking into the warmth and comfort. Jack sat with her for a while, ensuring she was comfortable and offering her water. The evening air grew colder, and the first stars began to appear in the sky. Reluctantly, Jack prepared to leave. "I'll be back first thing in the morning, Luna. You rest now." True to his word, Jack returned the next morning, bringing additional food and checking on Luna's condition. The black wolf, a new and unexpected visitor, was also there, watching Jack's interactions with Luna with a keen interest. Initially, Jack had been concerned that the black wolf might pose a threat to Luna or her pups, but he soon realized that the black wolf's presence was not menacing. Instead, the black wolf seemed to show a genuine concern for Luna. Jack's visits became a daily routine. Each day he brought food and ensured Luna was safe and comfortable. The black wolf became a regular companion, often bringing small scraps of food. Jack observed how the black wolf and Luna seemed to have formed a quiet alliance. The forest, once silent and still, now buzzed with the gentle interaction between Jack and the wolves. One particularly stormy evening, as the wind howled outside Jack's cabin, rattling the windows, Jack felt an uneasy sense of foreboding. The storm was relentless, with heavy snowfall reducing visibility to near zero. Driven by worry, Jack donned his warmest coat and ventured out into the blizzard to check on Luna. The snow swirled around him, and the wind cut through his layers of clothing. He pushed forward, guided only by his determination and the faint hope that Luna was safe. When Jack reached Luna's shelter, his heart sank. Luna was nowhere to be found. Panic surged through him as he called her name, but the storm swallowed his cries. The blizzard was so intense that Jack could barely see his hand in front of his face. He kept searching, driven by a mix of fear and determination. Then, amidst the howling wind, he heard a faint whimper. Jack followed the sound and discovered a small cave nearby. Inside, Luna was in labor. Her breaths were rapid, and she was clearly in pain. Jack's heart ached for her, but he knew he had to help. He used his coat to shield her from the cold wind that seeped into the cave, offering warmth and comfort. The night was long, and Jack stayed by Luna's side, offering silent support as she gave birth to 4 tiny wolf pups. The process was both beautiful and exhausting. Jack marveled at the sight of the newborn pups, their tiny bodies wriggling and whining as they sought their mother's warmth. After the delivery, Jack promised Luna that he would return the next morning. When dawn broke and the storm had finally passed, Jack kept his promise. He arrived to find Luna curled up with her new family, looking tired but content. Jack helped her care for the pups, bringing extra food to ensure she had enough nourishment to produce milk. The pups were growing stronger each day, their playful antics bringing a sense of joy to the shelter. As the weeks went by, the pups began to explore their surroundings. They ventured outside, playing in the snow and testing their developing limbs. Jack enjoyed watching their growth, especially Tiny, the smallest pup, who was always the last to try new things but quickly became the most adventurous. The black wolf continued to visit, often playing with the pups and bringing small bits of food. Jack was astonished by how well the black wolf and Luna had bonded. It was as if they had formed their own little pack, with Jack as an honorary member. Their interactions were a testament to the strength of the bond formed between them. As spring approached, Jack noticed an increase in activity in the forest. One afternoon, while visiting Luna and her pups, he heard the sound of twigs snapping and muffled voices in the distance. His instincts alerted him to potential danger. Quietly, he crept through the underbrush, following the sounds until he came upon 4 hunters with rifles. They were tracking Luna's prints in the melting snow. Jack's heart raced as he overheard their conversation. "We've been tracking this wolf pack for days," one hunter whispered. "They've been spotted near farms. We can't risk them attacking livestock or people. I heard there are pups. Better to handle this now before it escalates." Realizing the gravity of the situation, Jack knew he had to act quickly. He raced back to Luna's den, his mind racing to come up with a plan. As he arrived, he saw Luna retreating deeper into the cave, her body tense with fear. The black wolf stood guard at the entrance, his stance protective. Jack could hear the hunters' voices growing louder as they approached. With a firm resolve, he positioned himself in front of the shelter entrance. His stance was resolute, and his eyes met those of the hunters with unwavering determination. "This wolf and her pups are under my protection," he declared. "They've done no harm to anyone." The hunters were taken aback, their rifles lowering in surprise. "I've never seen anyone defend a wolf before," one of them said, recognizing Jack. "What are you doing? These wolves could be dangerous." Jack took a deep breath, knowing that his next words could determine the fate of Luna and her family. He began to recount Luna's story, explaining how he had found her in a dire state and helped her survive the brutal winter. His voice was filled with passion and conviction as he detailed the birth of the pups and the unlikely friendship that had formed between him and the wolves. "Come see for yourselves," Jack urged, gesturing towards the shelter. Hesitantly, the hunters approached. Jack showed them how gentle Luna was and how her pups were playful and curious. As if on cue, Tiny, the smallest pup, poked his head out of the shelter, his curiosity overcoming his fear. The hunters watched in amazement as the pup cautiously approached Jack, nuzzling his hand. The hunters' expressions shifted from suspicion to wonder. They were captivated by Jack's compassion and the unusual bond between him and the wolves. One by one, they lowered their rifles, the tension in the air dissipating. "I've never seen anything like this," one hunter admitted, shaking his head in disbelief. "Maybe we were too quick to judge." Jack seized the moment. "These wolves aren't a threat," he explained. "They're a family just trying to survive, like the rest of us. They hunt deep in the forest, away from people." The hunters exchanged glances, clearly reconsidering their mission. Finally, the leader spoke. "All right, we trust you, but you'll need to keep an eye on them. Make sure they stay out of trouble." Jack nodded solemnly, relief washing over him. "You have my word," he promised, knowing that he had just become the official protector of Luna's pack. As the hunters departed, Jack turned back to the shelter. Luna and the black wolf stood at the entrance, their amber eyes meeting his. With spring on the horizon, Jack knew it was time for Luna and her pups to return to the wild. Though it was a difficult decision, he understood that it was best for their survival. One cool morning, Jack approached the shelter for the last time. Luna and her pups were already outside, basking in the sunlight. Jack's heart was heavy as he approached, feeling a deep emotional connection. "Hey there, girl," he said softly. Luna's ears perked up and she wagged her tail. The pups, now larger and more confident, played around her feet. With a deep sigh, Jack began dismantling the shelter. He removed the branches and logs he had carefully assembled. As he worked, he explained to Luna what he was doing. "It's time for you to go, Luna," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "You and your pups need to be free to live as wolves should." Luna watched him closely, seemingly understanding the significance of his actions. The black wolf, ever the loyal companion, observed from a distance. Once the shelter was dismantled, Jack gathered the blankets he had used for Luna, folding them neatly. He planned to keep them as a memento of their time together. With the area restored, Jack knew it was time for the final goodbye. He knelt down, allowing the pups to approach him one last time. Each one nuzzled his hand, displaying their wild nature. Finally, Jack turned to Luna. He gently petted her head and scratched behind her ears. "Thank you," he whispered, "for trusting me and showing me a side of nature I never knew." Luna licked his hand, tears welling up in Jack's eyes. As if understanding, she barked softly to her pups, who gathered around her. Jack stood up and stepped back. "Go on now," he said, his voice breaking. "It's time for you to be wild again." Luna gave Jack one last look before leading her pups deeper into the forest. The black wolf hesitated for a moment before following them. Jack watched as they disappeared into the dense forest, the sounds of the wilderness enveloping him. He stood there for a long time, listening to the forest and feeling a profound sense of both sadness and peace. Back at his cabin, Jack took out a notebook and began writing about his time with Luna. As he wrote, he realized that while Luna and her pups had left, they had changed him in ways he had never anticipated. They had deepened his understanding of the forest and its creatures, transforming him from a solitary hunter into a guardian of the wild. 1 year later, on an autumn day, Jack was again wandering through the forest when he heard a familiar haunting howl. His heart raced as he searched the trees. At the edge of a clearing, he saw a breathtaking sight: Luna, now larger and stronger, with 4 fully grown wolves by her side. Her pups had grown into magnificent creatures, their presence a testament to their survival and Jack's efforts. Luna's howl echoed through the forest, and Jack felt a profound sense of connection. It was as if Luna was marking the territory where Jack had once helped her. Tears filled Jack's eyes as he watched Luna and her thriving family. For a moment, it felt as though Luna was acknowledging him, remembering the kindness he had shown her a year ago. Luna howled again, this time joined by her grown pups. Their voices created a beautiful, wild chorus that filled the clearing. Jack laughed and cried simultaneously, overwhelmed by the unexpected reunion and the sight of Luna's flourishing family. He noticed a flash of black fur. The black wolf was still with Luna's pack. Jack's heart swelled with joy at the enduring friendship between Luna and the black wolf. For a few precious minutes, Luna and her family stayed at the edge of the clearing, allowing Jack to witness their well-being. Then, with one last look, Luna led her pack deeper into the forest, with the black wolf following closely behind. As the wolves disappeared from view, Jack felt a deep sense of fulfillment and pride. He had always considered himself a simple hunter, but he now realized he was part of something much larger. His compassion had not only saved Luna and her pups, but it also transformed him in ways he had never expected. As he made his way back through the forest, Jack reflected on the remarkable journey he had experienced. The wild, once a solitary refuge, had become a place of profound connection and understanding. He felt a renewed sense of purpose and a deeper appreciation for the delicate balance of nature. Jack's story of kindness and unexpected friendships was a testament to the power of compassion and the profound impact it can have on both humans and the creatures they encounter.